Like and subscribe. Now, you and I are joining a tea party with the Empire's elite ladies. She lives a double life, but not a single soul knows her true identity. A commoner playing the part of Lady Girona, the only heir to the powerful house of Lentella. Days earlier, while fixing her wig, Lissa recalls the desperate choices that led her to this mansion. After the true Lady Girona died, the Duke found Lissa and hired her to save her family from poverty. The Duke bursts in, screaming that she cannot drink tea because his real daughter suffered from a lethal allergy. She retorts it was only his late wife. To blend in at the princess's royal gala, she must master the art of drinking tea without hesitation. Intrigued, the Duke suggests offering a rare blend to the princess to secure their standing in court. If they bond, Lissa might eventually marry the crown prince and sit on the imperial throne herself. At the party, rumors fly that the princess is absent because the mysterious Grand Duke Hatalen has arrived. Pay attention here. This is where the real mystery begins. To the shock of the other nobles, Lissa bribes a servant to find the princess so she can present her gift and start their alliance. While searching the garden maze, she trips over a pile of expensive men's clothing abandoned on the grass. She discovers a wounded black bunny and gently picks it up, completely forgetting about the tea she just ruined. She recalls ancient noble traditions. Thinking of sacred animals, she wonders if she can sneak this creature back to the mansion. She decides to keep it, believing no one else would truly care for such a precious, tiny thing. Nearby, guards frantically search for Grand Duke Hatalen, the most elusive and desired bachelor in the entire empire. His family bears a curse. If he ever receives true love, he will transform into a helpless animal. The only way to break the spell is through genuine acts of deep affection. He had avoided the bunny prophecy for 20 years, but now he is transformed and has been essentially kidnapped by our lead girl. Now you and I need to watch this. He tries to flee, but the sadness in her eyes stops him. Back in her room, Lissa carefully bandages the bunny's hurt leg. As she admires her work and Hatalen wonders about her wig, the Duke storms in, screaming about her failing to meet the princess. He tries to strike her, but the bunny leaps up and kicks him square in the face. Lissa checks the bunny, while the Duke explodes in fury. He threatens to kill it, but she shamelessly lies, claiming the princess gave her the pet for the tea. The Duke immediately calms down, ordering her to secure a dance with the prince at the winter ball before finally leaving the room. She collapses on the floor, shaking. She cradles the bunny, having zero regrets about her bold lies. Hatalen is incredibly flustered, having never been this close to a woman, especially one he just met today. Once she is asleep, he tries to escape through the window, but his tiny body and lack of magic make it impossible. He simply cannot run away in this state, so he returns to the bed. The next morning, Lissa searches through history books for a legendary name, but finds nothing perfect. Every name she picks is terrible, so in a rush, she just settles on calling him Bobby. Hatalen hates it, but Lissa assumes he is just hungry rather than insulted by the name. Ellie brings him rabbit food, but he rejects it and eats Lissa's salad instead, worrying the maid. She fears how the Duke will react to such a wild pet. Lissa reassures her, though she realizes the staff knows the bunny was never a royal gift. She shares a secret bond with Ellie, as both are commoners forced to play along with the Duke's schemes or perish. Lissa reveals that the princess actually has a massive crush on Grand Duke Hatalen, a secret she will use for leverage. Ellie vows to find more intel, while Hatalen internally mocks them since he is right there. Over the next few days, Hatalen observes the young woman more closely. Trust me, she is just a lonely soul trapped in a fake life. All right, you and I are diving into a story where a tiny bunny becomes a royal scandal. Elara feels down, so her rabbit jumps up to cheer her up. She names him Pip. What she doesn't know is that Pip is actually a secret nickname given to the Duke by his mother and sister back when he was a child, right before they both perished in a terrible family tragedy. He actually loves the name. Suddenly, Alina rushes into the room to find Elara and Pip. She reports that Grand Duke Alaric is supposedly attending the opera tonight, meaning Princess Charlotte will likely be there too. Pip is completely baffled, since he has been stuck in House Sterling as a bunny for days and never planned a night out. Over at the palace, young Charlotte sighs in front of Alaric's portrait, pouting because she has to attend the opera all by herself. She boldly declares that despite their significant age difference, the Grand Duke will be her husband by the end of the evening. Her brother, Prince Arthur, teases her about the gap but promises to take her anyway. At the opera, the nobility has gathered in droves, though they are more interested in the Duke than the performance. Elyra sits alone in her private box with Pip on her lap, quietly observing the high society crowd below. She thinks she has spotted the princess, but realizes she is mistaken. Then, Pip suddenly bolts away. Arthur notices her as she chases the bunny, recognizing her as Lady Elyra of House Sterling. She brushes past him without a second glance, which only makes the prince smile and follow her. Now pay attention here, this is where it gets wild. Pip hops into a restricted box while Arthur suddenly appears right behind her. She freezes upon realizing his rank and offers a polite greeting. He gallantly offers his arm, leading her into the royal box. Inside, they find Charlotte dangerously perched on the balcony edge, cuddling Pip. Arthur panics and shouts for her to get down immediately. Elyra realizes that shouting is not the right solution, so she politely introduces herself to the princess. She calmly explains the rabbit is hers, and she came with the prince to fetch him. She then offers assistance so Charlotte can climb down from the edge safely, an offer the princess happily accepts. Now watch this. To Arthur's shock, Charlotte decides to watch with her new friend, and her brother can't help but agree. He finds Elyra very interesting. 2. Outside after the curtains close, the Duke's knight, Sir Cedric, waits. It turns out the rumor of the Duke's arrival was actually his own trap to find his master. He spots Elyra and her bunny being cornered by jealous noblewomen, all because she sat with the royals during the play. At first, Cedric doesn't believe the bunny could be the Grand Duke, but as the carriage pulls away, he snaps and realizes that it is him. Back home, Elyra's father is overjoyed, beaming with pride that his daughter befriended the royal siblings. Pip, however, gives the man a sharp kick. The Duke threatens to toss the rabbit out the moment it stops being useful. He then asks if she has further invitations from the palace. She reassures him, reminding him that his only job is to keep the gold flowing to her family, so she can remain his perfect little pawn. Back in her room, she chats with Alina about the simple life she craves once she leaves this noble charade behind. Alaric listens closely, secretly judging every word. They talk for hours about freedom and simple flowers until night falls. The next morning, 2 mysterious invitations arrive at the estate. One is for a tea party at the palace, and the other is an invitation from the Duke of Valois to visit his private villa. Elyra weighs her options. She expected the invite from Charlotte, who reminds her of home, but the one from Valois is far more intriguing, mentioning a tea party exclusively for rabbit enthusiasts. Alina warns her that the villa is basically a fortress, with incredibly tight security. Alaric listens, proud of Cedric for such a brilliant plan. However, he quickly gets annoyed when the ladies start debating whether grown men should even like rabbits at all. Elyra explains she doesn't care for those silly gender stereotypes. She says she doesn't care for Pip just because she is a girl, but because he seems so alone, making the little bunny blush. Later that day, the maids bring out several outdated, frumpy dresses for Elyra to choose from for the upcoming events. Both she and Alina complain, knowing that wearing these old rags would make her the laughingstock of the entire high society. The maids reveal that the Duke specifically ordered these hideous, expensive gowns, having destroyed all her more tasteful options. Wanting the most expensive gowns for his daughter regardless of their appearance, having already destroyed most of her beautiful, simpler clothes. Thinking fast, Elyra writes down secret instructions for a tailor to redesign one of the gowns. Alina worries about her reputation, but Elyra isn't stressed. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you'll want to see how she stuns everyone next. Let's jump back in, as Duke Hadrian tries practicing his secret magic. Stick with me. Lady Alara is stressing out that her new custom dress won't be finished for the royal tea party. Elena, however, is absolutely loving the stunning design Alara created for the reworked dress. She stays modest about her skills. But Hadrian thinks she is way too humble. In a better life, she could have easily run a world-famous fashion house. He nuzzles the fabric to show his approval. Now Elena and Alara are hunting for a matching necklace, but absolutely nothing in her old jewelry box actually fits the look. It looks like everything was chosen by her father, not the original Lady Alara. Alara feels like these jewels were just golden cages for her, so she heads into the city for something fresh. She kisses Lon goodbye and heads out. Alone at last, Hadrian collapses, his face burning bright red from that sweet kiss. Now watch this. He feels his magic surge and realizes it is all fueled by Alara's genuine affection for him. Using the power boost, he uses telekinesis to pen a secret letter and sends it off to Sion. At the jeweler, the merchant reveals a stunning sapphire necklace that would look absolutely perfect on Alara's new dress. She pauses at the massive price tag, but just as she decides to buy it, another noblewoman cuts in to steal it. It is Marchioness Camille Sterling. Tension skyrockets in the shop, and the poor merchant is stuck in the middle. It is common knowledge that the Sterling and Ashford families have been bitter rivals for centuries. Alara thinks fast and decides to play a little game, immediately starting to outbid Camille's offer. Naturally, the Marchioness refuses to lose and keeps raising the price. The bidding war explodes until Alara finally decides Camille has suffered enough humiliation, letting her buy the necklace for a literal fortune that is just completely and utterly insane. In the carriage, Elena realizes with fury. Marchioness Camille's dress was suspiciously similar to the one Lady Alara designed for the tea party. Honestly, wearing the same look is a massive social scandal that would be considered a major breach of royal etiquette. You saw that too, right? The shop actually leaked the design to humiliate the Ashfords, which is exactly why Alara played that clever bidding game. She tells Elena to inform the Duke, so he can deliver some serious punishment to the traitors. Arriving back at the manor, she finds a mysterious gift from the Silverthorn family. Along with an invitation from the Grand Duke, a beautiful gift box has arrived. It holds a stunning necklace set with a mysterious moonstone found only in the far Northlands. This special stone is incredibly powerful, precious, and just beyond rare. Alara hesitates to accept it, mostly because the reason for the gift is so strange. She barely thinks of herself as a pet owner yet, but Elena insists the jewel is a perfect match for her dress. Alara finally agrees to wear it. Hadrian is pleased with his gift, even if he knows the excuse for sending it is ridiculous. That night, Alara gives Lon a sweet goodnight kiss, and once. Again, the Grand Duke's mana surges, confirming his theory. The next day at the royal tea party, the 4 most influential young noblewomen in the kingdom are gathered around a table for tea and cakes. They grill Alara about the princess, since none of them have met her, and they are clearly dying for her to arrive. Camille Sterling tries to steal the spotlight by asking about Alara's new necklace, but the young lady just mocks her instead. While they all laugh, the royal siblings are announced. All 4 ladies rise to greet their highnesses. By rank, Lady Camille steps up first, but the young princess completely ignores her and goes straight to Alara. During tea and their garden stroll, the 2 of them remain totally inseparable, while the other 3 ladies desperately try to win the prince's attention. However, the young prince only has eyes for Lady Alara. By a fountain, Princess Charlotte notices Alara's necklace. She gasps that this artifact is so rare that even the royal vault only uses it for legendary magic weapons. She asks where she got the stone, and Alara admits it was a gift. The princess's eyes sparkle even more as she asks if Alara is close with the legendary Grand Duke. Now everyone is watching her. While Camille tries her absolute best to keep the prince near her, Arthur only wants to talk to 𝒂𝒃𝒃𝒊𝒕 privately about a potential meeting with the Grand Duke, since the recent rumors say. He was sick. Back home, 𝒂𝒃𝒃𝒊𝒕 is exhausted from the lies, but you and I know she never actually lied. All right, you and I are about to see Haedlin's secret plan. He needs to meet Prince Khadan, restore House 𝒂𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒅's honor, and watch Lissa while thanking her properly. 3 days later, the Duke of 𝒂𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒅 watches his daughter closely. She leaves for the Grand Duke's tea party without a word, leaving her father suspicious and watching her every move. His secretary mentions the incident with the Parvati Marquis, and the Duke absolutely loses his mind. Meanwhile, Ellie, Lissa, and Haedlin are inside a carriage heading straight for the Grand Duke's estate. The trip is genuinely terrifying, giving them haunted house vibes until they arrive and are greeted by a servant named Sen who leads them in. Lissa quickly realizes something is wrong. She is the only guest invited. When Sen tries to blame the bunny from the palace garden, Lissa spots his shameless lies immediately, and she is definitely not having any of it. She calms down, but points out how rude it is to invite someone and then not even show up. Lan suddenly begins to shake and make strange noises, forcing Sen to rush him away, while Lissa feels a massive wave of guilt for using him. She only served her greed. Elsewhere, poor Sen gets a beating from the Grand Duke for his clumsy planning, while Haedlin weighs his next move. He has to decide whether to tell Lissa the truth or keep hiding his true identity from her. Now pay attention, because he chooses to keep lying, fearing she cannot handle the truth while he needs her by his side. Sen shows the ladies a portrait of his grace and hands over a letter confirming his sickness, pleading with Lissa to look after poor Lan as a favor. The ladies agree and leave the mansion behind them. It all feels like a dream, as if they just returned from another world entirely. Over at the Imperial Palace, Crown Prince Khadan is busy dueling with the young Marquis 𝒂𝒃𝒃. After the prince wins, they drop their blades and head off to grab some refreshments. Jace mentions his sister, complaining that the prince seems to prefer the 𝒂𝒐𝒗𝒆𝒅 lady over Chamalilia. Khadan dismisses it, claiming he only cares because she knows Haedlin and he would never betray a true friend. 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 arrives at the palace as the new messenger between the prince and the Grand Duke after her strange visit to the mansion. She meets Jace and explains her connection to Haedlin through the bunny, leaving the men to gossip once she leaves. Jace suspects her story is a lie, since the Grand Duke has never been the type to care about women or bunnies. Jace promises to investigate this weird situation immediately. He vows to keep Khadan from falling for 𝒂𝒗𝒅. While back at the estate, Lissa and Ellie discuss the young lady's dangerous new messenger mission. Lissa admits she is starting to hate this entire situation more and more. She feels like Khadan interrogates her every time they meet, which clearly bothers Haedlin as well. Haedlin does not understand why his old friend is so curious about her, just as Ellie hears a noise outside. She rushes back with news that 𝒂𝒃𝒃𝒊𝒕 is here with gifts and is already meeting with her father, the Duke, downstairs. Here is where you and I watch closely, as Lissa runs down to stop a disaster. To her surprise, the two men are getting along perfectly fine. Thanks to a bottle of rare wine and some extreme politeness, Jace even apologizes to Lissa for his sister's earlier incident. He shares some valuable information that seems to make the Duke very happy. Suddenly, the Duke leaves the room, leaving the two young nobles alone to talk. Jace tries to start a conversation, but Girona refuses to even listen to him. She coldly reminds him of their family's bitter rivalry, stating clearly why she has absolutely no interest in listening to a word he says. He switches tactics and attacks her interest in Prince Khadan, but she just demands that he leave immediately. He grabs her wrist and whispers the nickname the prince gave her, a beautiful liar. Suddenly, the window shatters as glass cuts his hand, and outside, Haedlin curses for missing his intended target. After the chaos, Lissa finds the Duke passed out in his office with a wine bottle in his hand. She takes the bottle and empties it on the floor before walking out. Sitting in the garden with Lan, she thinks back on the Marquis and how weak she felt when he grabbed her. And that's where we leave it. Beauty and rank mean nothing if your enemies don't respect your power. All right, you and I are about to watch a simple wish for strength change everything. Lord Hadrian cannot stand her heartbreak. He wishes she would ignore those noble vultures. If she needs a weapon to fight back, he will gladly be her blade. As his light intensifies, she sees him transforming into something massive before passing out from the shock. Hadrian, now in his human form, catches her before she hits the cold floor. He wonders why the transformation happened without a kiss this time. Gently, he lifts her into his strong arms. He carries her to her chambers, promising to write a letter explaining everything to her as soon as possible. Leaving the room, he shifts back into a bunny. Meanwhile, Silas receives word to investigate the ancient family archives immediately. 1 week later, Lady Elise sets off for the Grand Duke's manor in her carriage. She spent the week wondering how to gain power without the right to wield magic or a heavy sword. She realized her true weapon was information. Her new goal, become indispensable to Prince Alaric, far beyond being a simple messenger. Now watch closely. This is where everything changes. Elise realizes the prince craves mana, stones more than anything else in the entire kingdom. And Hadrian is the only one with a limitless supply. Since they have grown close, she plans to use that bond. At the manor, Silas greets her, explaining the Duke is away but left orders to treat her like royalty. He serves her tea and cakes before taking Lunar for a checkup. Alone in a side room, Hadrian commands Silas to tell her everything about him, everything except his secret identity. Silas questions his master's motives, but Hadrian simply says it's only fair since he knows so much about her. Silas brings Lunar back to Elise, who notices a cute ribbon on his neck. It is the perfect icebreaker, and she starts digging for answers. To her surprise, she gets every single answer she was after. Silas mentions the Duke normally hates rabbits, making Lunar the only one he has ever actually cared for. Elise finally understands why the prince and his men were so suspicious of her. She grills Silas about Hadrian's true nature. The butler is happy to clear the air, even leaking some rather embarrassing secrets. He reveals the Duke's secret love for sweets, earning him a swift bunny kick right to the face. As Elise tends to the butler's face, Silas enjoys the attention, making his hidden master quite jealous. You saw that too, right? Their bond is way deeper than just a pet and a servant. On the ride home, she reflects on how much fun she had, reminded of her childhood friend Sarah, who she used to sneak out with. Sarah was a wild, rebellious spirit, and Elise loved her more than anyone. She decides to take a detour through the old village to visit her friend's home. But there is nothing left. Years ago, Sarah burned the house down in a fit of absolute despair. As the rain pours down, Elise wonders aloud what she truly wants for her own life. Her father wants her to be empress, but she feels nothing for the crown prince. Listening closely, Hadrian considers offering her an escape, a new life with all the safety and gold she could ever need. He realizes he never really thought about his own desires, having been groomed for leadership since the day he was born. Suddenly, she spots a man harassing a young girl and recognizes him as the jerk who broke Sarah's heart. Lunar leaps into her arms. She thinks he wants to hit the man like he did her father. But he doesn't want to just hurt him. He wants blood. Seeing the murder in his eyes, she lets him go. As the vile man continues to corner the innocent girl, Hadrian strikes with such force that the man is sent flying into a pile of wine barrels. Elise calls him back and they leave, never noticing a heavy sign falling right onto the man's head. Back home, her maid Ellie worries. Elise tells her she is fine, though she cannot explain why she feels so happy after such a rainy day. She asks if anything happened while away. And Ellie mentions her father is losing patience with the Marquis. Then, she asks if Elise wants a rosemary bath. So what do you and I make of this? It looks like the Duke is falling hard. All right, you and I are following a Duke trapped in a bunny's body. Alara decides to play this game, thinking it is better to communicate with him directly. She proves it by asking for his paw. He hates the dog treatment but gets flustered. especially when she leans in and asks for a kiss. As he worries about how awkward that would be, he realizes she just wants a finger kiss. He treats it like a knight honoring a lady, which makes him tremble. 𝒂𝒅 might think it is cute, but it feels wrong to him. Then she takes him for a bath. If a small kiss was a big deal, this is way too far. He protests with energy. 𝒂𝒐 does not know what to do next. 𝒂𝒅 is coughing, but insists on bathing Hadrian herself, asking for hot tea and a fresh salad. He figures that since he is in animal form and covered in thick fur, he is not really naked. Stick with me. Our Duke's situation is about to get a lot more serious. He wonders how to get his mana back without a kiss, and before he gets too attached. In the morning, 𝒂𝒅 wakes up with Hadrian by her side and plans out her difficult day. She hugs her fluffy companion, deciding she would spend the entire morning with him. Over at the house of Valois, the entire family is eating in a very heavy silence. Camille asks about her brother's injured hand and gets scolded for asking such an obvious, stupid question. He apparently did not tell his family that he visited the Duke of Stirling in secret. He insults her looks and manners, comparing her poorly to Lady Genevieve, who is seducing the prince. Back in her private room, while a servant brushes her hair, she bites her nails, wondering how to humiliate Lady Genevieve. Only then would her family respect her, but a single white hair makes her scream in rage. At the imperial palace, Princess Charlotte is outraged because people are bad-mouthing Genevieve in her presence. Now you saw that too, right? There is definitely a messy love triangle brewing. Charlotte noticed that her brother and the Grand Duke seem to be fighting over Genevieve's heart. Julian tries to reassure her, saying she only meets Hadrian for business and there is no worry. Charlotte then explodes, saying she should play with Genevieve to truly understand her tastes in men. At the Stirling estate, the Duke storms into 𝒂𝒅's room with an exclusive invitation from the palace. 𝒂𝒅 is still in bed, sick, but the Duke happily shows off the prince's own elegant handwriting. 𝒂𝒅 is invited to have a chat with Princess Charlotte the very next afternoon. He expresses his pride to her, not even noticing that his daughter is clearly very ill. After he leaves, 𝒂𝒐 checks on 𝒂𝒅 and confirms she has a very high fever. She worries about the short notice, but 𝒂𝒅 just thanks her and asks for some medicine. Hadrian worries too, realizing she only obeys out of fear for her life and her freedom. He concludes she has never been free because of her responsibilities, despite how much she wants it. The day after, she prepares herself to head toward the Grand Imperial Palace. Hadrian tries his best to prevent her from leaving, especially since she is leaving him behind. She leaves him with 𝒂𝒐, who fears the legendary kicking abilities of the tiny, angry bunny. Hadrian makes one last try, but she is gone. While 𝒂𝒐 waves goodbye, Hadrian escapes outside. 𝒂𝒅 looks at the medicine 𝒂𝒐 gave her to boost her energy for the princess meeting. The Duke usually takes these when he needs more strength, regardless of his physical condition. She doesn't trust the drug and throws it away, choosing to push herself for her family. At the tea meeting, 𝒂𝒅 casually mentions the Grand Duke's hidden love for sweet strawberry cakes. Strangely, this small detail seems to reduce the prince's suspicions about her relationship with Hadrian. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what reward she chooses next. A maid tells Lady Clara they have finally tracked down the finest strawberry cakes in the kingdom. She demands Lady Genevieve join her to buy a gift for the Grand Duke immediately. Clara happily imagines a future with him, alongside her brothers. You and I are about to see her secret life take a very dangerous turn. She masks her symptoms, but Prince Cadden insists on calling a royal physician. They argue back and forth, him demanding she stay while she begs to leave. He lets her go, but asks one last time what reward she truly desires. She says the answer is simple, and he must find it himself. Suddenly, Alaric steps between them. With a furious glare, he threatens the prince and leaps toward Lissa. She finds the little creature in the carriage and pulls him into a happy embrace. Alaric realizes the lady has no idea what she truly wants and vows to give her everything. Now watch this. Just as he thinks of her, something impossible begins to happen. He regains his human form. He is stunned that his magic chose this exact moment to trigger, just as the carriage jolts and sends Lissa falling into his arms. She remains unconscious and feverish. He becomes hyper-aware of how fragile she is while feeling her feverish warmth, so he transfers his own mana to help her heal faster. Her color returns, and before he knows it, they have reached the manor gates. Panic sets in. If he is caught like this with an unconscious lady, the scandal will be absolute. A servant reaches for the locked door of the carriage. Alaric is terrified, wishing more than anything to turn back into a tiny bunny. The servant announces he will have to force the door open. Risking everything, Alaric forces his voice to mimic Lissa and orders the carriage to turn around and leave the manor immediately. You can imagine their shock. A deep voice from the lady. This is getting weird. Back at the estate, Sir Sebastian is reaching his breaking point. He cannot fathom why Lady Genevieve is currently tucked away in the Grand Duke's private quarters. Even worse, he can't believe the Duke doesn't see how massive this problem is. Lissa drifts in a haze, hearing voices nearby, but failing to grasp a single word. She only knows she feels safe and warm. She assumes she is home in her own bed, waiting for Alara to wake her up. But Alara is gone. Only the men remain. Sebastian warns that hiding a lady of her status will be impossible for long. Alaric reveals the truth about her situation. The dead lady, the fake wig, and the secret contract. Sebastian's fury shifts toward the Duke, making him even more determined to protect her. He is absolutely thrilled that the cold Duke finally cares for a woman, especially since he had almost given up hope of ever seeing a future Duchess. Alaric denies it all, turns back into a bunny, and kicks Sebastian for his rudeness. Later, Sebastian sends a secret message to Alara explaining that Lissa is safe. Limping away, he mutters about how the Duke treats his only true friend. After all, he is the only one who knows the Duke's true nature. Lissa wakes up in a strange room and finds a mysterious black letter in some flowers. It is a letter from Duke Alaric explaining what happened during their carriage ride. He tells her she is welcome to stay and do exactly as she pleases. As she touches the petals, she realizes her wig has been removed. A second note promises her secret is safe within these manor walls. Julian arrives with gowns. Trust me, things are just getting started. All right, you and I are about to watch Our Lady break every rule of high society. Inside the wagons, she finds trousers and decides to dress in a full suit. She asks Leon for his thoughts on her new attire, and his impressed gaze says it all. It feels odd since she has only ever worn gowns, but she loves the freedom. Together, they finally leave the chambers. Lissa follows Leon down the hallway until they hit a fork. To one side, a melody drifts, to the other, a savory aroma. She is slightly hungry, but it is nothing like her days in poverty or the strict dieting she endured as Lady 𝒂𝒗𝒆 to keep her figure. Right now, the mysterious music is far more intriguing to her. She pushes open a heavy door and finds a private concert held inside a lush greenhouse. Sir Alistair appears wearing a dress to offer her some cake, making Lissa burst into genuine laughter. The woman explains she is actually Alistair's older sister, Lady Cynthia, though everyone calls her Cindy. For the first time in ages, she introduces herself as Lissa. Cindy then has the band play a fresh song and asks if Lissa likes it. Lissa finds it unusual yet pretty, and Cynthia offers to have her play along with the band for the next song. Lissa immediately protests, explaining that she has not the slightest idea how to play any musical instrument. She only learned a few piano pieces to keep up appearances in high society, but otherwise, she knows absolutely nothing about making music. Cindy hands her some simple percussion pieces just to make some noise. It is not about skill, it is about having a bit of fun. The two women have a blast together, sharing more cakes before they part ways. Soon, Alistair joins his sister and asks what she really thinks of Lissa. Cindy is deeply concerned. She wonders if a noblewoman like her has ever experienced true joy, or if her entire life has been nothing but cold duty. Those sad eyes. Now here is the part you and I need to watch carefully. Cynthia hopes Adeline's plan works, then grills her brother about the 𝒂𝒂𝒃𝒊𝒕. Negotiations are proving difficult since both the duchy and the kingdom are desperate for 𝒂𝒂 crystals for their own sake. Meanwhile, heavy storms and pouring rain have begun to batter the entire kingdom. Somewhere deep inside the palace, the royal sorcerers are struggling with a difficult spell, letting the prince down by failing yet again. Despite their constant efforts, they still require more 𝒂𝒂 crystals to finally achieve their mysterious goal. After witnessing these setbacks, the prince resolves to travel to the Duchy of Stritz on his own to secure more 𝒂𝒂 crystals. Meanwhile, in Valoria, Elinor successfully spikes the Duke's wine as the Grand Duke instructed, causing him to pass out. However, she cannot keep doing the same scheme for very long. It will not be long, so she is desperately waiting for Lissa to come back. Back at the Grand Duke's manor, the weather is perfect. Lissa and Cindy are out in the courtyard practicing their self-defense. Cindy mentions that since this is her first real vacation, maybe she should try to play and relax more. But Lissa thinks that learning how to fight and defend herself is far more enjoyable than any instrument. She wants to learn to protect herself so no one can ever hurt her again. While watching her, Leon blushes, happy that she is finally engaging in an activity she enjoys. Lissa looks back at this past week and realizes these 5 days have been the most significant of her life. She has complete freedom now, from what she wears to what she eats. She never once put herself first before, as her family's needs and expectations always had to come before her own. Leon arrogantly vows in his mind that he will provide her with absolutely anything her heart desires. Lissa is enjoying her meal and encourages Leon to do the same. Leon forces himself to eat the salad because he knows she will worry if he does not. Lissa notices his struggle and offers him a strawberry. He happily agrees since she seems so pleased to be feeding him. And oh, a bit of the strawberry cream ends up on his cheek. As Lissa wipes it off, Leon turns bright red. You and I can see his excitement as he hugs her hand, feeling giddy over this brand new sensation. To Lissa, Leon is simply the cutest little rabbit in the entire world. Leon skips away and hides behind a door. He is worried that while Lissa is having fun with his rabbit form, the real him is slowly drifting away. He cannot stand being a rabbit any longer and desperately tries to figure out how to return to his true human form. He must have triggered a magical rule without even realizing it. He tries to recall the exact moments he transformed into his human form. During that first time, he remembers his intense desire to give Lissa more power. And just like that, he is finally back, the legendary Grand Duke Halidin in the flesh. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens when the prince finally reaches the Duchy of Stritz. Stick with me, you and I are entering a magical forest where the prince realizes that while his kingdom is reigning, these dark woods are completely dry and silent. Since they do not have an official invite to cross, massive crows swoop down to block them from moving forward into the territory. Rumor has it the forest is protected by spells that even the archmage of the imperial court cannot crack. Luckily, Lord Julian Sterling is leading them. They follow his moonstone compass, a Sterling family heirloom that always points toward whatever the owner desires most in the entire world. As they travel, Julian makes a bold request to Prince Arthur in exchange for his help in this difficult journey. During the winter ball, Julian wants House Sterling and House Ravenscroft to open and close the season together. Since the ancient wars, the Ravenscroft family has stayed the closest allies to the crown. Arthur agrees, but wonders why Julian is making such an unusual and specific demand. Is there a lady he wants to impress? The prince tries to guess, but Julian actually just wants to check on Lady Genevieve. Before, her gaze was always cold and completely empty of life. But after the scene at Ravenscroft Manor, he noticed a strange fire in her eyes and realized she had become a much more bold woman. Pay attention. He feels like the young Ravenscroft is a completely different person now, but he brushes it off, claiming he is just overthinking the entire situation. The situation. At the Blackwood estate, Archduke Alastair still cannot control his shifting curse, but he decides it is finally time to introduce himself to Isabella. While Isabella is searching for Pip, they both swing the door open at once, causing her to crash right into Alastair. Finally, the two of them meet. Shocked to see the Archduke, she quickly pulls herself together, remembering she must act like the perfect Lady Genevieve. Despite the internal panic, she stands tall and confidently, tells him that even though they have written many letters, it feels like they have not seen each other in years. The Archduke, of course, expects her to play the part. To greet her properly, Alastair kisses Isabella's hand, breaking the novel's rule that he never touches anyone like that. He is supposed to be unreachable. Surprisingly, Isabella does not mind at all. Our hero, however, is blushing furiously, because he did not expect his human form to feel so different from being a rabbit. A short while later, Alastair leads Isabella to the sparkling lake behind his massive estate. He enjoys their first meeting, because Isabella seems so relaxed, while she admires the view of the water. This leads Isabella to realize he is nothing like the cold novel version, and is actually quite friendly. Over tea, Isabella notices how much Alastair looks like Pip, and realizes he will be taking the rabbit back now. The mood turns heavy, as they both think about the sad moment they will have to say goodbye. Alastair has no choice but to end the meeting because he might turn back into a rabbit and cannot reveal his secret yet. You and I can see Isabella is mentally preparing herself to say a final farewell to her little friend Pip. She thanks Alastair for trusting her with little Pip. Isabella describes the rabbit as smart, gentle, and loving, making the Archduke turn red. Alastair says Pip only acts like that because she is the one with him, making her think the Duke truly loves the rabbit since he takes all those compliments as if he were the one being praised. Alastair then asks her for a favor since his duties often change. Without waiting for a finish, Isabella agrees with a smile. She will watch over Pip whenever she is needed. After all, who could resist falling for our cute little Pip? Cedric interrupts to tell Alastair that Prince Arthur and Julian are trying to force their way into the territory. Because of this, their tea time is cut short. Before leaving, Isabella thanks Alastair for the lovely visit and notes she enjoyed the tea most. She asks if they can keep writing to each other. She also learns that his people use a handshake as a sign of true friendship, and she wishes she could share that bond with him. Isabella wants to be friends, but Alastair feels like he just got friend-zoned, which makes him incredibly sad. Still, Alastair hides his pain and agrees with a firm handshake. But then, poof, the Archduke turns back into Pip, busted. Isabella is not happy at all. She demands he explain everything, which he finally does with Cedric's help. And that's where we leave it. She leaves in her carriage, telling them not to contact her until she writes to them once she gets back home. Stick with me. You're about to watch a noble romance get incredibly messy. But our poor Duke Alaric is absolutely devastated. Just look at those sad rabbit ears. He's convinced Alara will never want to see him again. Back in the carriage, Alara is a storm of emotions. Is she angry? Yes. Too heartbroken to move on? Definitely. She's just caught in between. Every single thing she loved feels like a lie, even her precious bunny who never really existed. She vows to burn every memory she has of Alaric, but deep down, she knows she never could. While looking back, she suddenly remembers all those nights they spent snuggling together. Now that she knows he's actually the Grand Duke, yeah, she's blushing like crazy. She orders the driver back, claiming she forgot something important. Oh boy, here we go. Now watch this. Prince Julian and Sir Tristan are deep in the woods when Tristan's compass suddenly starts spinning wildly. It's moving. The coachman apologizes, telling Alara they've somehow exited the forest entirely. He's clueless, but it's likely the work of the wood's ancient and mysterious protective barrier. The rain is pouring down now, so she tells him to just go home. But Tristan's compass, it's pointing straight at her. Prince Julian greets Alara, and honestly, she looks pretty happy to see him. Then Tristan and Julian hop right into her carriage, claiming they were just kicked out of the Blackwood estate. Alara explains she's heading home after leaving her sick rabbit with the healers at the estate. Julian actually feels bad and offers her a puppy, but Alara shuts him down. Nothing could ever replace her little bunny. Later at the palace, Tristan confronts the prince about why he couldn't stop talking to her during the entire ride. The prince explains he once went through something very similar. Talking to her reminds him of things he lost while growing up as an heir. But you and I know Tristan. He's all business, insisting she's nothing special. He tells the prince to focus on the Mana Shard crisis instead. Surprisingly, Julian actually agrees. They need 50 times more Mana Shards than they have right now. If they fail, the whole kingdom is doomed. This is a dark royal secret, passed down only to the next king. It's the legend of the Lake Fairy's curse. Long ago, a lake fairy fell for a noble knight and granted his wish, only to be abandoned and left completely alone. Then an emperor declared his love, promising her eternal happiness if she would only choose him instead. They were happy for a while, but the empire was suffering through a brutal and endless drought. The fairy saved them, but being away from her lake made her fall deathly ill. The emperor knew she was fading, yet he refused to let her go. He kept her captive until the day she died, and like a dark curse, the rain began falling and never stopped. Thankfully, the royal mages managed to seal it away. Now, it's the crown prince's duty to fix that crumbling seal. Meanwhile, at House Sterling, the sisters prepare after hearing that the Thorne family will be hosting the season's first big ball. Alara starts writing a heartfelt letter to the Grand Duke, apologizing for her sudden exit and admitting that she finally understands his incredibly difficult situation. As for Alaric, he still hasn't been able to shift back into his human form. He buries himself in work, just to keep his mind from drifting back to Alara. Suddenly, her letter arrives while he's at his desk. The second he reads it, he transforms. It's all thanks to the doctor's research. Alaric realizes that suppressing his feelings is what turns him into a bunny. Being honest with Alara is the only way to stay human. Now that he can control his magic, he's ready to face her at the masquerade ball. Alara enters the gala, and this time, she's ditched the wig because the Grand Duke asked her to be herself. But every other lady is wearing a blonde wig just to mock her family's house. Now, she's genuinely worried if he'll even be able to find the real her. Prince Julian tries to find her in the crowd, wanting to talk more, but the Thorne family gets right in his way. He gives Lady Camilla a quick compliment and leaves. Looks like the young Thorne girl is already falling for him. While Alara waits for Alaric, Tristan uses his magic compass to track her down in the crowd. He grabs her like she's some common criminal, accusing her of hiding behind a wig, but Alara just smirks and shakes him off with total ease. Alaric appears just in time to tell Tristan he's got the wrong lady, and the two of them walk away together. Alara notices the Duke is flushing. They dance, and he boldly admits it's just because he has butterflies in his stomach. Now they're both blushing like crazy. He reminds her that he can't lie anymore, or he'll turn right back into a bunny. She starts wondering if she should be just as honest. Alara finally admits how angry she was, and trust me, we're just getting started. Let's see how our knight in fluffy armor handles this reveal. He lied even with every chance to come clean. He explains that staying by her side as a rabbit was his own choice. Alara, now blushing hard, notices his confidence. The Duke admits that being truly honest with her is actually way harder than guarding the forbidden abyss itself. They both burst into laughter, realizing they are just as nervous as each other. After the dance, they slip away for a break on one of the moonlit mansion balconies. Alara admits she is lost. He knows every one of her secrets, while he is still a total mystery to her. Alistair insists he is the same man he always was, but Alara knows treating him normally now will be impossible. Her real worry, the late-night snuggles. Since reading minds is not his forte, he assumes she hates him. He lies, pretending none of this ever happened and claims that she will never see him again. Poof, look who is back. 𝒂𝒅 can't stop laughing. She grabs 𝒂𝒅, promising to treat him the same because she likes him, then asks him to come home with her for good. Now that they have returned to Ravenwood Manor, the air between them is thick with tension. 𝒂𝒅 asks Ellie to prepare a small bed for the bunny. Even though it is for dogs, it fits him. But since they have always shared a bed before, Ellie wonders about the new setup, but 𝒂𝒅 kicks her out before she can ask any more questions. Now that they are alone, 𝒂𝒅 adds a soft handkerchief to his bed for extra comfort. They are in separate beds now, but neither of them can sleep a wink. 𝒂𝒅 keeps tossing and turning, trying to find a comfortable spot. Suddenly, 𝒂𝒅 approaches him and reaches out for the fluffy bunny. She tries to poke him, but he quickly pretends to be asleep. She hesitates, then pulls 𝒂𝒅 into her bed. She has not slept in days and finds his presence incredibly comforting as she lies there. Soon, the heavy thoughts weighing her down vanish, and she is out cold. 𝒂𝒅 stays awake, watching her breathe in the quiet night. But then 𝒂𝒅 pulls him into a tight hug. His plan was to wait a while and then slip out when the time was right. Her arms feel like unbreakable chains, but he is actually enjoying every single second of this close embrace. Now pay attention, because Lord Thorn just discovered from his spies that 𝒂𝒅's rabbit can actually transform into a human man. Thorn has been hiring eyes to watch 𝒂𝒅, and every report says the exact same thing. The rabbit is really a high-ranking noble with dark hair and striking golden eyes. He is thrilled with the discovery and wonders if he should leak this secret to the Crown Prince immediately. Meanwhile, 𝒂𝒅 falls asleep and is now hugging 𝒂𝒅 in his human form. 𝒂𝒅 is still deeply asleep. He wakes up and debates whether to change back or stay like this. He tries to convince himself he has no choice in the matter. Since she hugged him first, he claims his hands are tied. What a liar. Poof, he is back in bunny form. 𝒂𝒅 wakes up and tries to explain the night before. 𝒂𝒅 just claims it was because the room felt a bit too cold. You saw that too, right? These two are just making up excuses for all the blushing and last night's secret cuddles. Ellie enters with breakfast, reminding her of tomorrow's Rose Garden meeting with the princess. This serves as a harsh reminder to 𝒂𝒅 that there is still a massive problem that they need to solve. If he could just whisk her away, he would, but he knows 𝒂𝒅 would never agree to that. Over tea on the balcony, 𝒂𝒅 tells 𝒂𝒅 she plans to stir up some serious trouble and needs his help. She pulls off her wig, announcing she is done playing the role of Lady Beatrice and wants the act to end. She thought she had to live a lie for her family's sake and bury her own desires forever. But the warmth of the Duke's embrace made her want something more. She plans to tell him everything once this is all over. Oh my, it turns out she was actually awake that whole time. She lays out her entire plan and asks 𝒂𝒅 to look it over carefully. He is also planning to confess his feelings after they take down the Lord. Killing him is faster, but 𝒂𝒅 would never allow that. Since 𝒂𝒅 knows the Lord so well, she suspects he already knows 𝒂𝒅's big secret, and she plans to use that. She will use that knowledge to make Lord Thorn look like he has completely lost his mind. 𝒂𝒅 suggests a fake trigger. They will pretend water turns him human. If Thorn sees water spill on the bunny without a change, it will make any claim he makes to the prince look like a total lie. Trust me, this little trap is going to be pure chaos. Stick with me here. You're about to see a duke try to sell out the most powerful man in the kingdom. Just pour water on the rabbit, and it transforms into Grand Duke Hadrian Sterling. The Crown Prince doesn't believe a word of it, informing the Duke that the rabbit is simply a pet Genevieve is looking after. The princess snaps at him for attacking Lord Sterling's reputation, while the prince recalls Genevieve saying the Duke had been unwell, leading them both to think this story is totally ridiculous. So the prince, grinning with pure sarcasm, says that today has been unlike any other, giving the Duke false hope until his expression turns cold and menacing. He leaves the Duke humiliated while the news of the disaster spreads like wildfire. Inside the royal library, Elizabeth and Hadrian discuss what the prince might do now that House Lancaster is crumbling, comparing their fall to the schemes of the House of Valois. Suddenly, Hadrian calls her Elizabeth, and she frantically warns him that they might be overheard by spies. He assures her they are completely alone in the library, which is strange for such a popular spot, then hands her a key. Watch this. He wishes her a happy birthday and gifts her the entire bookstore, knowing Elizabeth would love it. She thought her birthday was tomorrow, but realizes today is actually Genevieve's. Their dates are so close she forgot while struggling to maintain her disguise. This time, no acting is required. She genuinely thanks Hadrian for the most incredible gift she could ever dream of receiving. It is Genevieve's birthday, and while you would expect a grand gala, the Duke's gambling has left them broke. Since Elizabeth took over, the celebrations have only gotten smaller. Even then, the loyal servants bring her small gifts, proving how much they truly love Elizabeth. Later, the Duke eats while pressuring her to become the next empress, warning her that if she dares to run away, they will all face a grisly end together. He says he doesn't care about her bond with Hadrian, ordering her to use the Grand Duke just to seduce the Crown Prince. Hadrian hears this and instantly wants to end the Duke's life. But Elizabeth senses his rage and pets him, acting perfectly innocent to avoid confirming the Duke's suspicions. Now pay attention. She reminds him that his lectures are getting them nowhere. Suddenly, the Duke allows her to visit her real family, but they both know it's a trap. Regardless, Elizabeth and Hadrian set off for her village, and while inside the carriage, she worries for the house servants, asking Hadrian to help them find new work once their mission is complete. Hadrian shifts back and promises to handle everything, telling her she only needs to keep moving forward without fear. Elizabeth's family greets her joyfully, and one look at the house tells her that their lives have improved since she left. Seeing them look so healthy and well-fed makes her feel like every single sacrifice she made was truly worth the price. Elizabeth freezes in shock as her younger sister, Arabella, admits she dreams of being just like her, becoming a beautiful and famous lady of the court. The mood shifts instantly, and the entire table falls silent during dinner. She is furious that her parents haven't corrected Arabella's dangerous fantasies. Since they don't know the nightmare she's living, she argues that even though Arabella is young, they must teach her how to find real happiness and choose dreams she won't regret later. The moment she mentions leaving the Duke's service, her father snaps back at her. She promises she will still provide for the family, but he says they've started a new medicine that she could never afford alone. Suddenly, her mother takes the medicine and acts as if she is completely cured, feeling so full of life that she starts begging her husband for even more of the drug. The scent of the drug fills the room, and Hadrian realizes it smells exactly like the Duke's breath. Hadrian desperately tries to find a way to stop her mother from taking more. He pounces on her father, forcing him to drop the bottle. Elizabeth grabs it and realizes it is the same poison the Duke uses. Elizabeth warns her father that this drug only gives fake energy, but it seems he already knows the truth. He admits her mother is dying, and they are using the drug just to buy more time. Horrified, she tells him that this medicine will only make her mother's condition much worse in the end. And that is where we leave it. Elizabeth's mother admits she knew all along and promises to stick to proper medicine from now on. All right, you and I are about to see Lady Alyssa finally find peace by forgiving her father. Her mother apologizes for being helpless during her long illness and tells Alyssa that if life with the Duke ever makes her truly miserable, she is completely free to leave. She only wishes for her daughter's happiness, a gesture that leaves Alyssa feeling deeply grateful. During the second grand ball, Alyssa and Arthur find a moment to talk in the garden. She plans to reveal who she really is at the king's final grand ball soon. Arthur promises everything will be ready by then, proud to see Alyssa becoming stronger and more confident than ever before. He tries to see if she can truly sense his thoughts and read his mind. Alyssa finally admits she can hear his true voice. Arthur desperately tries to recall the ancient wisdom, Their mutual love is the only key to breaking this curse for good. Their true feelings for each other are the secret to the spell. Now that she hears his soul, he knows her feelings for him are growing. Things are finally moving forward. Suddenly, Prince Julian appears to ask for a dance, trying to charm her with his voice while Arthur stares him down. Now pay attention. Alyssa shifts the conversation to their secret plan, catching the prince completely off guard. She explains the power of the magic stones and reveals the shocking truth. The rabbit is actually the legendary Grand Duke he's been hunting for. Initially, the prince assumes she is simply offended by how he treated her father the other day. Suddenly, Grand Duke Arthur transforms right before his eyes, explaining that the truth must remain a secret from the rest of the court. The prince struggles to process the reality, but soon he's laughing uncontrollably at the thought of his friend being a rabbit. He eventually regains his composure and is finally ready to discuss a dark secret of his own. Arthur and Alyssa learn about the kingdom's curse. A vengeful fairy spirit is slowly drowning the land in darkness. They realize the magic stones can only delay the inevitable, meaning this disaster will keep happening until a real cure is found. The prince fears this cycle of despair will never truly end. Alyssa worries that even if they combine their strength now, they have no idea when the next crisis will strike. Arthur adds that if war returns to the Shadowlands, his supply of magic stones will completely dry up. They agree to a formal contract. Arthur will provide more stones to buy time, while the prince investigates the royal medicine. In return, the prince must investigate the truth behind the mysterious medicine. Before they leave, the prince demands a dance as an apology, making Arthur tremble with pure jealousy as he watches. While they dance, the prince asks if he has a chance, claiming she is the only woman worthy of being queen. But Alyssa only wants her little rabbit, leaving the prince completely stunned. It's a brutal rejection for a man who is just falling for her. You feel that too, right? Prince Julian is left standing alone with a completely shattered heart. Unknown to them, Lord Cedric saw everything and finds it hilarious that a legendary Grand Duke is currently stuck as a fluffy rabbit. However, seeing Alyssa dance with the prince bothers him deeply, likely because his own sister was ignored for the dance. He denies his feelings, but the magic compass reveals the one thing he truly wants, Lady Alyssa. He approaches the prince, who is excited about the deal, but Cedric's mood has turned noticeably cold. Darker. He warns that if Lady Alyssa becomes the Grand Duchess, the kingdom's power will shift unless the prince marries his sister Camille, something he doubts Julian will do. The prince agrees and asks Lord Cedric to reveal his secret strategy. Ellie distracts the Duke with wine, so Alyssa can sneak away to her secret bookshop in peace. Alyssa notices Arthur has been acting quite strange since the ball. Is he truly upset about her dancing with the prince, or is he just acting out for attention? To cheer up her cute rabbit, Alyssa asks if she should kiss him like before. Arthur asks for a kiss this time. Honestly, who could ever say no to those cute rabbit ears? He tries a cheeky trick to transform back into a human, but Alyssa is too quick and covers his mouth. He goes back to being a bunny and nuzzles her cheek, leaving them both feeling incredibly shy. Arthur asks if she likes the prince, but she smiles and tells him he's much more handsome. And that's where we leave it. Alyssa suddenly collapses, falling into a strange, dark dream. Let's jump into a dream where Alyssa sees a prince and fairy dancing. He looks like Prince Cadden but different. The fairy tells him he is always way too busy to spend time with her. The prince ignores her feelings, only caring about making his kingdom the richest territory in the land. Alyssa hears the fairy's inner thoughts about not giving up. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the fairy dying while the prince weeps by her bedside. She hears her final hope, that just this once he might actually stay by her side. But duty calls him away, and he leaves. That was the last time those two ever saw one another. Still dreaming, Alyssa watches the fairy vanish. Soon after, the heartbroken emperor collapses from nothing but pure exhaustion. With his final breath, he only thinks of her, wondering if she will ever truly forgive his neglect. After his death, floods ravage the land. The people blame the fairy's curse and decide to seal the magic away forever. Lissa finally wakes up to find the Grand Duke in a total state of panic. She describes the strange vision, saying it felt far too real to be just a dream. Lan listens closely and realizes something huge. If this is true, Lissa is the reincarnation of that ancient fairy. He reveals the Lady Charlotte's curse was also fairy magic. Lissa jokingly says she will take full responsibility for it all. She keeps teasing him because his rabbit form is just so cute. But Lan is done playing around. It is time to be serious. He shifts back to his human form and demands she take responsibility for every second he spent as a helpless bunny. Now pay attention, because he leans in and steals back 10 minutes with a kiss, or maybe even more. As they kiss, Lissa feels like she's in a storybook. It is honestly sweeter than any dessert you could imagine. Eventually, the Duke turns back into a rabbit. Lissa teases him, asking if he practices his kissing in his sleep. She can joke, but she is blushing so hard she cannot even look at him while getting ready to leave. Alone now, Lan actually considers more practice while picturing Lissa walking down the aisle in a beautiful white wedding dress. He shakes off the daydream, shocked by his own thoughts, and tries to focus on the important tasks at hand. He visits Lord Sen to ask for romantic advice and tips on how to pull off the perfect proposal. Meanwhile, 𝒂𝒗𝒆 and 𝒂𝒃 discuss winning a lady's heart. 𝒂𝒃 plans to marry Lady 𝒂𝒗𝒆 to strengthen the kingdom from within. He thinks the crown prince should wed a foreign princess to expand their reach across the entire continent's borders. He is sure the prince will agree, because he always puts the needs of the empire before his own desires. To his shock, the prince tells him to get the lady's consent before even asking for royal permission. At the family mansion, 𝒂𝒗𝒆 tells 𝒂𝒃 to propose non-stop, but he calls her advice totally useless, which really hurts her feelings. She snaps back that with his arrogant attitude, he will be single forever. That night, he sneaks into the Lara estate grounds. He serenades Lady 𝒂𝒗𝒆 with his violin to win her heart. He waits for the window to open, but instead of her, the Duke appears screaming for the guards to find the intruder. Luckily, he escapes. Give it up, 𝒂𝒃. Meanwhile, Lissa is at the tailor shop, trying on every single gown she wants for the upcoming ball. The shop gifts her a collection of tiny bunny outfits. Imagining Lan in those clothes, she secretly wishes the magic spell would never actually have to be broken. At the 𝒖𝒂𝒃 mansion, Sen prepares for the big proposal, but Lord Hadelin shoots down every single one of his ideas. He wants it to be special for Lissa. Together, they decide to find out exactly what her dream proposal would look like. He can't ask her directly without being suspicious, so they decide to ask her best friend, Ellie, for the inside scoop. You and I both know the secret, always ask the best friend. They tell each other everything. At the third ball, Lissa tries to find a quiet corner, but constantly keeps bumping into 𝒂𝒃 throughout the whole night. He's terrified she knows about his failed violin performance, so every time their eyes meet, he just turns and runs away. 𝒂𝒃 has the nerve to tell her to stop following him. Lissa honestly wonders how he ever won any wars with that brain. Without waiting for an answer, she explains she is just looking for a peaceful spot where she can finally rest. He says she and Lord Hadelin will never work. He claims noble girls are just family tools to be sold to the highest bidder, so she should be grateful he's interested. He knows nothing about winning hearts. Lissa delivers a massive slap. Trust me, you and I loved seeing that. She escaped and feels great. All right, stick with me. The crown prince just discovered the Duke of Lentara is behind the drug trade. These drugs are highly addictive, only offering a brief escape from the pain before dragging victims down. He is confused why Lady 𝒂𝒗𝒆 would want this investigated, knowing it will utterly destroy her family reputation. The following day, Lentara Manor overflows with gifts from Lord 𝒂𝒃, while the Duke obsessively rambles about marriage. But none of that matters. She won't be 𝒂𝒗𝒆 for long. Soon after, Lan hands her 𝒂𝒗𝒆's secret diary. Lan discovered the journal buried deep in the gardens of the very villa where 𝒖𝒅 passed away. Lissa despises the Duke, but she never felt malice toward 𝒖𝒅, wondering what her life was truly like. As she reads, she realizes that 𝒖𝒅's tragic life wasn't actually that different from her own struggle. Bound by her father's cruelty, she chose to simply vanish, leaving a plea for readers to live with freedom. Lissa mourns for her, but those final words spark a new courage to keep 𝒖𝒅's memory alive forever. Adelhin thinks she would be happy, sharing how he kept living for his family after they left him alone. Lissa realizes the Grand Duke has been carrying heavy burdens, even while being her constant source of strength. She pulls him into a warm embrace, offering him the comfort he truly deserves. That night, the House of 𝒂𝒐 hosts a final grand ball, drawing in nobles from across the kingdom. Lissa skips the event, claiming she is unwell. The Duke enters her chambers, offering drugs to help her feel better. With the Duke by her side, Lissa enters the ballroom, putting on a perfect performance of total exhaustion. It's all part of the plan. You and I can trust they know what they're doing. Every eye is on her. Rumors swirl that she's stolen the prince's heart, driving Lady 𝑺𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅 mad with jealousy. Lissa lets 𝒂𝒗𝒄𝒃𝒊𝒕 play her games, watching as she desperately searches for any scrap of dirt to use. As the kingdom's final ball of the year begins, the prince and Jace fight for a dance. Suddenly, 𝒂𝒗𝒄𝒃𝒊𝒕 interrupts, publicly accusing 𝒖𝒅 of being a drug addict. She presents her stolen evidence to the crowd, even as the crown prince frantically tries to shut her down. But then, Lissa confirms the drugs came from the Duke, before confessing she isn't actually a daughter of 𝒂𝒐. The Duke is stunned. Watch closely as Lissa removes her wig and reveals her true self to everyone. Following her lead, Grand Duke Adelhin makes his grand entrance, finally stepping into the light to reveal himself. While the palace falls into total chaos, the two simply laugh, relieved that their plan succeeded without more lies. The Duke is hauled off to prison, and 𝒖𝒅's diary is finally brought into the light for all. Lissa technically faces charges for the deception, but the prince grants a pardon for exposing the drug ring. As for 𝒂𝒗𝒆𝒅, she's been completely cast out, banned from every noble social circle in the land. Even so, Lissa wants to help her find strength, just as she's finally obtained her own true freedom. Lissa and Lon celebrate by the lakeside. He's prepared a feast, gifts, and letters describing places they could visit. Lissa is overjoyed but overwhelmed by the choices, wondering what brought on all these sudden travel plans. Adelhin tells her he wants to fill her heart, sincerely confessing he wants to experience every journey together. He presents a ring, asking Lissa if she will allow him to love her for the rest of time. She says yes instantly, as if she's been waiting for this magical moment her entire life. Meanwhile, the Duke escapes prison seeking revenge, but he's struck by lightning, ending the 𝒂𝒐 line forever. But that was no accident. It was the divine judgment of the late emperor himself. He's watched over the empire, regretting he left his fairy behind. He notes how the prince resembles him now. With her finally gone, taking the villainous Duke's life is his final gift to ensure Lissa's future happiness. At last, he finds peace, and the endless rains finally begin to lift from the kingdom. The rain wasn't a fairy's curse after all, but the emperor's own tears of deep, eternal regret. 3 years pass, and they now have a son, though some still wonder why the magic remains. Perhaps the Grand Duke grew accustomed to it. Regardless, they're happy, and they no longer believe it's just magic. It's just part of who he is, her beloved Lon, and that's where our story ends. What an incredible journey. You and I just witnessed a love story that truly teaches us to live freely. You and I just witnessed a legend. Subscribe and share for more. Until next time.